The following program is paid for by Stephen K. Media.
Welcome to BBB Straight Talk with Dan Parsons, a weekly show on bad, good, and better business. Here we'll discuss scams and schemes to helpful business tips, and we'll feature guests from the BBB and leaders of accredited businesses, experts in our community, and the consuming public.
Welcome to BBB Straight Talk. This is Jordan Rzad, the internet guy at the Better Business Bureau of Greater Houston and South Texas. Excuse me, my headset did not click in when we started off, so pardon me for being a little tardy here, but we will get to the show rolling here. Good topic for today. By the way, Dan Parsons is not in today. He had some BBB business to take care of, so he won't be in today, but that's all right. He'll be back next week. But just as well, because, you know, I'm the internet guy at the BBB. I take care of the website, the social media, all those things. And our topic today is social media, and it's social media in business. And I've taken part in a couple seminars talking about this with other businesses. They want to learn more about it, small businesses and medium size, and we get all sorts of feedback, from questions like, where do I start? And that's probably the most common one. How do I jump on and get involved in this? All the way to, you know, a little more advanced, how do I produce metrics to report on this to a board? There are a lot of things to cover here, but I know that a lot of folks listening out there right now just kind of want to know the basics. So that's where we're going to start today. And maybe if we can't cover as much as we like to today, we can do another show on it. That sounds like fun. So with me today is Roger Janik, who's the CEO of Server Side Design. Welcome.
Thank you.
And across from me is Sharon Dotson, who is the president of Bayou City PR.
Glad to be here.
And Sharon and I did a couple months ago a seminar with the Silver Fox Advisors where we talked in front of a group of small businesses. We talked about social media, using it to promote their businesses and increase their SEO and all the good things that come out of it. And again, it just led to more questions that we could answer at the time. And I'm afraid that might happen this hour, but we'll try to get to as many as possible. And so we're going to open up the phones also. If you have a question about this, how social media may improve your business, or how to jump on that train, the number here is 713-9-650-650. That's 713-9-650-650. So let's start off, I think, again, another one of the big questions is, what is social media? A lot of times people will call in and they'll say, I don't even understand what it really is. My kids use Facebook, or they're using Twitter, or I like to watch funny videos on YouTube. What is that going to do for my business? And so I always try to find a reasonable definition of social media, and it always changes. I found one in it's a Houston Builder magazine, I think it is. It was given to me, and I'll just read this verbatim off the page and see. I'll bounce it off you guys, see if it sounds like a reasonable explanation. Social media is the set of internet tools that allows for interaction and conversations among users. These tools include blogs, wikis, forums, videos, social bookmarking, and social networking, among others. Unlike early websites, which were static, like a brochure, social media sites are interactive and encourage users to converse, opine, and lend expertise. They encourage users to add original content. And so this is where I'm going to kind of hand over to you folks. I think that's actually a pretty good definition, because you have to define the difference of when the internet started and you had a business built a web page and the consumer looked at the web page and read it, and that was it. It was a brochure. It was an online brochure. And then the term, years later, Web 2.0 came out. Well, what does that mean? What was Web 1.0? And the Web 1.0 was that non-interactive thing. That was, we built it, you read it, that's it. And whereas Web 2.0 is the interactive, where you go onto a website and you contribute to the content, and social media rides piggyback on that, where you interact with the content and you interact with your peers, with other people all over the world that have similar interests, things like that. So, I don't know. Am I doing okay on this? Does that sound like a decent explanation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I would tell people if they want to jump in, the first thing they should do is, for instance, Facebook, join it. There really isn't any way that you're going to know what it looks like or understand the concept until you get there. And that goes for Twitter, but Facebook is the thing that I'm most experienced with. And LinkedIn too.
Yeah. And Jordan, I agree with her. That's a good place to start. And, there can almost be even a clear definition between social media and what's considered social networking. Social media was blogs, forums, wikis, and it wasn't really as interactive. It's more of you're posting and commenting on things that you see, and like photos and videos and things like that. It wasn't really interactive. Really,
good point.
Social networking is really Web 2.0 realized, and that's when you get into the Facebooks and the Twitters, even LinkedIn, to where you're truly interacting like you said. But that's what it is. It's like taking Web 2.0 to a whole nother level. It's the Web 2.0 dream being realized with these big social networks.
Right.
Now.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that's a good point. Message boards have gone back. I remember them from, the mid 90s. So they were out there. You could go into message boards and have, sort of conversations, but you could contribute to the content was the thing. In fact, it's kind of fun to, Google your name every once in a while. And one of my legacies on the internet is from 1998 where I go on a message board and contribute what, menu item I think Taco Bell should bring back. of all the things to live on, that one just keeps on popping back. Yeah, I really like that burrito. So, but no, I think that's a good point that the networking was the thing that brought it together and made it explode.
That's right. And you just hit on a good point there, Jordan. You can post something on these networks, right? And or in these medias, but they might stick around for years and years and years, right?
That's a great point.
So what do? You have to monitor that and track that, not as just a personal for usage, but it's very important to businesses to do that nowadays. There's tools out there that can even help you do that, but it's considered reputation management is kind of the buzzword for that.
Sure.
But you want to watch, not only what you say on the internet these days in these social networks, but what other people are saying about you and about your business, about your products, about your services, about your reputation.
Right.
There's a pretty cool tool out there. It's called socialmention.com.
Yep.
You guys check that out. Are you familiar with that one?
Oh, yeah.
And if you type, type into that, let's say your name, or my name, Roger Janik, and you'll see that things pop up, or your company name. You type in your company name, and you'll see what people are blogging about, or Facebooking about, and tweeting about. So it's kind of a good way to keep up with. That's just one tool. There's many tools out there, but.
Yeah, and there's a few like that too, and I've kind of gone through some of them. But it's fortunate that there are so many, so people can kind of pick and choose whatever they feel comfortable with, because they all have kind of a different look and feel. But you got to remember that if you're using the metrics, the numbers off of those tools, they don't necessarily translate one to another. They're all using their own little algorithms and whatever. So if you're pulling some kind of a graph off there or something, it's not going to talk to the other one. But I think I kind of want to, we're going to go to a break here in just a minute, but when we do, I think what I would like to do is kind of backtrack a little bit, and maybe we'll just have a mock conversation, with a small business here who wants to jump on, but they don't know where to start, and we can kind of set them on their way without piling too much information on them. This is BBB Straight Talk. We're talking, with Roger Janik from Server-Side Design and Sharon Dotson from Bayou City PR about social media, and we'll be right back.
Fellas, y'all ready to do this? Yeah, what's up, guys? What's up, everyone?
Welcome back. This is BBB Straight Talk. This is the radio program of the Better Business Bureau of Greater Houston and South Texas. And I'm here this time, right on schedule, right on the clock. I got Joe pointed to me, and here I am. So anyway, sorry about that. We are talking social media today. With me is Roger Janik from Server-Side Design and Sharon Dotson from Bayou City PR. And a little side note here, I've now lived in the Houston area for a year. And I finally, just about a couple of weeks ago, it finally I understood what exactly a bayou is. It took me a little while to wrap my brain around it. I go, so it's a river? No, it's not a river. Well, so what? It's a creek? What? It's a body of water. It's yeah. So anyway, I'll catch on eventually. But what we're going to do is we're going to kind of come up with some responses to some questions that all of us in our business practice have run across when we talk to a business who they're not sure what to do with social media or how to approach it, or they've dismissed it and they don't understand what it can do for them. And so, some of these objections that we can start off with is it's for kids. My kids do that. I don't see any point in me doing it. So, Sharon, what would you say to that?
Well, I would say teenagers drive cars, but adults drive cars too. And just because a teenager's doing it doesn't mean that it can't work for you even a whole lot better.
Right.
And I would say that kids are the first people who realized what it could do.
Early adopters.
Yeah, they were the early adopters, but looking at it from a business standpoint, it can be just a little teeny weeny bit of a miracle sometimes too. So forget what the kids are doing. They can still do their thing and it won't affect adults at all. But it has the possibility to bring in a good bit of business if you do it right.
And it's worked for you personally, for your business yourself. So you know of what you speak. So, Roger, what about your angle on that? If they, say, well, this just isn't for me. It's a fad.
Yeah. Well, touching on what Sharon said, I agree that it's not just for kids, and it's definitely not a fad. And really, the largest growing population on Facebook is between the ages of 35 to 49 now. Okay, so I think people are now starting to get it, that it's not just a fad or it's just for kids, and they're starting to get on board. Just for the fact alone that that's the largest growing population on there that's starting to sign up and use Facebook. Here's another interesting statistic. Walmart has about 20 million visitors a day. Okay, Facebook has about 250 million visitors a day.
Oh, there you go.
That kind of puts it in perspective for you of the kind of reach you can get as a business owner.
Sure.
And so this isn't just about networking to make friends and to socialize, but it's huge for businesses, and that's where the perspective that my company and Sharon's company we can put on this, because that's what we do. We can facilitate this kind of service for businesses, help them grow their business and interact and communicate and cultivate that online social community,
We're talking social media here. The number for, if you'd like to call in and ask a question, is 713-9-650-650. That's 713-9-650-650. So, you're meeting with this client. Let's say, it's Joe's Plumbing Service. And, okay, so you've kind of reached them with the big numbers there of how many folks are actually on Facebook and such. So the next question that comes along is, so how do I begin? Where should I even start? Questions that come along to me would be like, I don't have, I'm not a writer, right? And I get that. So what Sharon, I know you come across this one and you have a response for that. What do you tell them?
Well, the first thing, let's just talk about Facebook. The first thing I would do is go to facebook.com. It doesn't cost any money, and it's very simple to set up an account. You don't have to do everything all at one time. Look it over. Once you join it, then you can look around at what other people are doing. And you're going to see some silly stuff, but that doesn't mean you're going to be silly. You're going to see people saying, well, it's Friday night, I'm going to go out for Mexican food.
Right.
But you're going to stay really focused on your business, and the way to get, quote, fans is what they call them on Facebook, is to provide great content. And what is content? Well, content is what you're going to say. And if I were a plumbing business, I know that there is news in plumbing every day. You can go on the internet and put in plumbing news and find articles about new I don't know, new kinds of pipes.
Sure.
I know there's some new kinds of toilets out there that are supposed to work much better. And you can post an article. Well, how do you post an article? It isn't difficult. You could probably get a kid to show you how to post an article, or a friend. And I think the main thing to remember is that you do not directly sell yourself on Facebook. You don't say, buy my plumbing services, toilets on special this month. That's in your face.
I think there is a sort of 10 commandments forming here of the what not to do's, with social media, and certainly selling yourself is right on there. You hear that all the time, and not blatantly is the thing. It's achieving thought leadership and kind of flexing your muscles as far as what you know about the subject matter, and thereby creating content. And would you say, Roger, that really content is king as far as social media goes?
Yes. Well, the main thing is it's about relationships. Yeah. So you can sell on Facebook, but there's a very fine line. Okay, if you haven't built trust and built that relationship with your community, and you're just pushing out your products and pushing out your services, and that's all you're doing is more like one-way communication, then you're not going to, it's going to look spammy, and you're not going to get a lot of traction from that and a lot of business from that. But if you put on smart things, good information, good content, like you guys are saying, but even you can even post like on Facebook how-to videos.
Yep.
You could put some coupons or specials that you're running. But if you're kind of giving information, like sharing things, that good tips and strategies and home, ways to do this at home for yourself, then you're building that trust, you're building that relationship. Then you can hit them up every once in a while with the, click here to see our special of the week,
And so if we remove the digital component of what you just spoke about, then what it would be a person who owns a business going and speaking to people about what they know about the business. Joe the plumber talking about things about plumbing and showing his expertise within that industry, which is something that most business owners do anyway. It's what they're used to doing.
Right.
And so this just adds the digital part of it, but it's still the same concept. It's establishing yourself as an expert within the field and building trust that way.
And that you are such a good guy, such a good woman, that you are willing to share for nothing some really useful tips, in this case, about plumbing. And I think of Facebook as kind of like a cocktail party. You go and you're mixing with people, and someone finds out that you're a plumber, and they'll say, well, I've got this problem with it's the lever on the toilet, or something about the faucet in the kitchen. I really don't have really terrific examples here. But anyway, people don't mind asking questions that they would have to pay for in another venue if they're in a social situation.
Yeah.
And I know it happens to all of us. It could be anywhere, a neighborhood party, something like that. So if you think of it that way, and you think how you are really willing to help people, and even sometimes give information that somebody else might pay for, people recognize that.
Sure.
And they're not always going to be able to do it themselves.
Absolutely. This is BBB Straight Talk. We're talking about social media with Roger Janik of Server-Side Design and Sharon Dotson of Bayou City PR, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. This is BBB Straight Talk, the radio program of the Better Business Bureau of Greater Houston and South Texas. I'm Jordan Rzad. I'm the internet guy at the BBB. I'm usually co-host of the program. I usually sit shotgun to Dan Parsons, the president, but Dan couldn't make it today. He had some business to take care of, so I'm flying solo, but that's all right. We've got it handled here. We've got it nailed. We're talking social media, and with me today is Roger Janik of Server-Side Design and Sharon Dotson of Bayou City PR, and we're just kind of touching on the nuts and bolts of using social media for a business. And we obviously cannot get to everything here. We may have to have a show 2 or 3 down the line to, drill in a little bit deeper, but just kind of touching on the superficial things. And when we left off before the last break, we were talking about content and offering tips. And we used an imaginary business, Joe's Plumbing, and Joe could leave some tips on his website or his blog or social media, his Facebook or anything like that about some things that the average homeowner can do to save some money. And a lot of businesses will balk at that because they say, hey, I don't want to give away the store here. That's why I'm in business. That's where they're supposed to come to me. And that isn't exactly, you would think, at first blush, that's how it would work. That people go, oh, hey, thanks for the info. I won't be calling you. But really, that is not the way it works for the majority. I think a lot of times, when people use the information, when they read the information that you supply out there, the content that your thought leadership and expertise, they first off appreciate that, but then they realize how much knowledge and expertise is required to do whatever it is they're doing, and you probably get called anyway. So, Sharon, does that kind of wrap it up there?
I was just going to tell you that I can recall I put something on Facebook about how to write a press release. And what is more core to my public relations business than writing press releases? And a friend of mine said, you're crazy. Why would you tell someone how to do what is so much a part of your business? Well, I don't mind. It's any place they want to find it. They can buy books on it. They can find it on the internet. But I'm happy to tell people. But I must tell you, I also believe that we write much better press releases that get picked up by the media than someone who's just doing it for the first time.
Absolutely.
And I think that most people would find it difficult to do. And if they don't, if they're just brilliant at it, well, shoot, they've just, they're in a position to do it themselves for the rest of their lives, but most people aren't. And I think the people who aren't are still grateful to see what goes into it. And perhaps that person will give your company a call. And you look unselfish, and it never hurts to look unselfish.
Sure. Yeah. And Roger, I know I work on the SEO at the BBB. It's one of my responsibilities. And so there are ad nauseum articles and blogs about, how to improve your SEO. And so I imagine that, you put information out yourself as well of some tips and tricks and things like that. But SEO is one of those things too that, eventually people will come back to you and say, okay, I give up. I need an expert in this. Or is that, is that accurate?
Yeah, I think that is accurate. There's some small, if you're a small business, a real small business or a startup business, you'll often take the information that we're putting out there on Facebook or Twitter, and they'll use it and they'll learn it and absorb it and apply some of it themselves. But more of the established businesses, they often, if they have a little bit of a budget, they will hire companies. They'll go to the experts.
It's a lot of work, and I think that's one thing that they realize. They take the tips for whatever it is you want to do, and you start doing it. And then you realize, wow, this is a lot more work than I was planning for.
Time is money. Time is precious, and so that's the whole point behind it. Facebook, as a business, you might be wanting to spend a couple hours a day at least on that, or more. And you talked about SEO, search engine optimization. Forget about it. You're talking 80 to 100 hours a month minimum if you're doing a campaign right with articles, blogs, press releases, link building, on-page optimization. The list goes on and on and on. And then of course, like you're saying, the news ad nauseum. It's every day there's something new. Google's changing their algorithms daily.
Right.
So to keep up with that is a daunting task.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a company like mine that has a team of professionals that we stay on top of that for you. And we change and adapt our systems and our processes and our formula for success based on all this new current trends and news that's coming.
Right.
But certainly, if you have the time, go for it. But most people
give it a shot. Certainly give it a shot. And on on the topic of content too, what is nice now is that you have so many choices of the type of content you can include. And I think a lot of businesses assume that, okay, well, if I am going to put worthwhile content up, then I need to write, this 500, to 700 word article every day, put that up on my blog. And they don't, what I usually tell them is go find some article that's already written that you like and comment on it.
That's it.
And
maybe
put a
one
link
sentence.
Put a link on it and comment on it. And that is a great start to get used to it, get going, and then you'll find the more you do it, the more you have to say about it. And then finally, you've started to come up with, some longer content of your own. And that it's a good way to get the ball rolling. And then if you want to get into video too, with YouTube or, any of the other ones, then, you find some that you find, hey, this is a good video. This really tells it the way it is. And this is why I think so. And then they make it very easy to embed video on your blog or on, whatever you are using at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You hit on it perfectly, Jordan. It's all about finding good, relevant, meaty content that's already existing on the web and posting that on your Facebook and Twitter accounts and just linking to it. That's a perfect, really good way to get started.
Yeah.
So that's, businesses out there, a little intimidated, a little scared, and, how do I start with Facebook? How do I start with Twitter? Find the good content and the news and the trends that are out there, link to them, and then if you have more time, write some articles, some blogs, do some stuff on your own. But that's a great way to get your feet wet and get started and kind of keep it rolling. And now there's a new rollout, to talk about some current news. Twitter is creating a whole new interface. They're starting to do previews now, and they're going to roll out where you can actually start embedding your videos and photos on Twitter instead of just your 140 text characters.
Right.
So that's a big rollout. That's huge. So Twitter's going to be kind of changing the whole scheme of things there. So
do you think? That's the first I've heard of it. So my gut reaction is, well, is that going to change what made Twitter? I mean, is that?
That's a good.
I guess I'm not really expecting an answer, but that's just kind of my first thing out there. There's a lot of tools. Time-saving tools. That's another thing. There's tools to find content that pertains to you, that goes out and searches for what people are saying about you or about your client or your industry, whatever. And those are great. A lot of free tools, but there's also tools that help you with posting too. If you have a few different accounts and you think, geez, I got to, take the time to post this to Facebook and I've got to put it on Twitter, but I've got to shrink it on Twitter because, I'm only allowed the 140 characters. And then, I want to put it on my LinkedIn too, but I kind of want to make it more business oriented on that. For example, I use a tool called Hootsuite.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. That's the one I use as well.
Yeah. And well, just
I just said I don't know
that's
about
It's a great one.
Sharon, write this one down because
I'm writing it down. Right
there's another similar product that you may have heard of is TweetDeck, and there's probably a bunch of other ones too. I just kind of went through them and figured out which ones I like the best. But Hootsuite, for example, is a program that allows you to make one posting and it will distribute it to all of your social media. Which really saves a lot of time, and it will give you a preview of how that posting is going to look on each one, and kind of guide you through the process. It will even, I'm going to talk about Hootsuite because that's what I use, but it will shrink down postings for Twitter. It will attach graphics. It'll attach thumbnails for Facebook. I like that product a lot, and it's just one more thing to save time other than having to go to each site and post to here and here and here.
Yeah.
So, there are a lot of tools like that. And then, if you want to get a little more into the reporting side, then you can go into products that you begin to pay for, like Alterian, Radian 6, which are all, ways of measuring, your presence out there. But again, I think I am going a little way. In fact, I'm going way too far here because that's a little too advanced. We want to stay with our, our beginning businesses here. Right. So, okay, let's take a couple steps backwards. So, content, reposting articles and making commentary on that. It looks like break time. So what we'll do is we'll get a little bit more on the networking side when we come back. We're talking social media with Roger Janik of Server Side Design and Sharon Dotson of Bayou City PR, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. This is BBB Straight Talk, the radio program, the Better Business Bureau of Greater Houston and South Texas. I'm Jordan Rzad. I'm your lone host for the day. I'm the internet guy at the BBB, which is apropos because we're talking about social media today. So, it's important that I need to plug our stuff as we come in. You can come to our Facebook page or our Twitter page and just go to the search field and do BBB Houston or Better Business Bureau Houston. That's the easiest way to find us there. Also, our main website is bbbhouston.org. That's bbbhouston.org. And I wanted to get the contact information from both of our guests. We have Roger Janik, who is the CEO of Server-Side Design, and Sharon Dotson, who's the president of Bayou City PR. So, Roger, how can folks find you? And kind of give just a real brief rundown of your services.
Sure, absolutely. We're a website marketing firm, so we do search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising, which is considered search engine marketing, and also social media marketing, which we're talking about today. Those are the three core competencies of the company. And the company is Server-Side Design. You can find us at serversidedesign.com. And since we're talking about social media today, you can also find us at facebook.com/searchexperts. And on Twitter, you can follow me at SSDinc1. So that's how people can reach out to us.
Excellent. Sharon?
Well, our website is BayouCityPR.com, and you'd be surprised how many people in Houston don't know how to spell Bayou. Or Bayou, as a lot of people pronounce it. It's BAYOU CityPR.com. And we specialize in two things. The first one is we get small to mid-sized businesses in the news, and we seek positive coverage for them. The people who work at Bayou City PR are all former newspaper reporters, so we feel like we really know how to talk to them. But you can find me on Facebook. It's just Sharon Dotson, and you'll see a lot of stuff about PR.
Excellent. As we started the program, it was kind of the general subject of, a small business getting their feet wet within the social media world and how they could wrap their brains around, the process in a way that they could understand. And I think, my first gut reaction to say is, well, you need to change the way you think. Now, duh. If a consultant came into my business and said, hey, you need to change the way you think, I'd be like, well, thanks so much for that. Here's the door. But, okay, change the way you think, but how so? And so, I think maybe we can just kind of throw some things around of different perspectives to take towards it. So, for example, I've explained it to some folks that the social media could be your own personal TV station. It can be where you can make your own videos and post them yourself where other people can see them, or your own radio station. There's there's a site called Voice where you can record your own podcasts and people can download them. You can make it, into your own communication vehicle for free. And maybe, that's a way that you can look at it. I don't know. Do you, offer any sort of perspectives on how they can get started or the way that they should look at it? How should they start looking at it when they get their feet wet in it?
Well, I tell clients who ask me about it, many of them who resist it, would you have a billboard on 610 or 45 or 290 if you could afford it? Well, sure I would. And but I can't afford it. But having a Facebook account where you put up good content, and maybe you put up good content every day, maybe 3 times a week, that's a billboard. And your picture's right there, or your logo, whatever you want people to put. I recommend your picture. I recommend putting a living, breathing human being next to your business. And that is the only billboard that most people can afford. And honestly, it's so much better in a way. Because your friends and your fans, you have picked them out and you've targeted them. They're probably people who are more likely to buy from you than, 100,000 cars zooming down 610.
But it's more targeted.
Yeah, it is. It's more targeted. So think of it as a billboard.
I think, kind of a really good way to look at it is kind of like a networking event that, or a trade show that you're going to that never stops. It's a never-ending network.
That's a great perspective,
or trade show,
true.
or a mixer, or it's a networking event, but it's never ending. It's never stopping. So, with that said, you have to mind your manners and your P's and your Q's, and you have to do what's correct and be careful what you say. But you have to. That's what you do. You're shaking hands. You're talking. You're building relationships. You're
creating brand ambassadors.
Yeah, exactly.
You might be giving somebody a compliment. You might be accepting a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's kind of that's the way we look at it.
And there's many things that you can do with this, but events in themselves, it's a good way to organize an event. Also, where you can find, I wasn't able to go because it was in Portland, but there was a event that just ended up with like 1,000 people, and it came out of nowhere, but it was organized completely, through Facebook. So, one thing I need to do though, before we kind of wrap it up here is, I'm going to go over, what the schedule is for the next couple of weeks. Let's see. The next show is on the 1st, and we will be talking about tort reform with Jeff Elkin with Porter Hedges. And then on the 8th, we're going to talk about bandit signs and bad advertising. Bandit signs are those illegal signs that you see on the side of the road and that are obnoxious, and they're illegal too. And we'll have Larry Lipton and Catherine Tipton on for that show. And then the week after that, we're talking about weatherization for your home and all the things that you need to be doing to prepare for the, I guess, cold weather. Coming from Portland, we'll call it. Joe's from Chicago, so he's like, I've been waiting for the cold weather here. So, anyway, Roger and Sharon, I really appreciate you coming on. We just touched the surface of this, and so there's probably another show in the works. Yeah, we'll do this again pretty soon. So this is Jordan Rzad, the Internet Guy at BBB. For us, BBB, and for Joe Nichols, the engineer here, we'll say thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Is a nonprofit association of accredited businesses that promote ethics and trust in the marketplace. All businesses that are participants or sponsors on this show meet the standards of BBB accreditation. For a full listing of accredited businesses, please go to www.bbbhouston.org.